Everybody to this knowledge sharing with the Southeast Climate Alliance. And tonight we will be speaking about the OnePlanet technology with those that are already using it and those that are piloting it, and how we can bring this about in our own organizations or with councils that we're working with. So tonight we're going to have Pauline Desai, who is behind OnePlanet, really talking about how it came about, with Neve, who works alongside him, and Pauline Cory from Transition Town Worthing, who has been using the OnePlanet technology. So over to you, Pauline. Maybe you can start us off by saying, how did this idea come to you, and give us a little bit of background to OnePlanet.
Yeah, thank you very much, Nicola, for inviting me here today. I'm going to first share a few slides and then show you a bit about, then I think, Pauline, you should say a bit about why you chose our platform. But let me first just share a few slides on what we're, the thinking behind the platform and what we're trying to do. So I am going to share now. And hopefully everyone can see that. Can you see my slides here?
Yeah.
Great. Oh, so I sometimes call this new thinking or new reality, new thinking, new tools. And we are in a new reality. We are very clearly now crossing climate tipping points. So we really have no time to lose. We have to embody the new thinking that we need to live sustainably or even regenerate the living systems on the planet on which we depend. And that, we believe, is going to require us to use new tools. And for us, it's all about joining the dots. So sustainability for me now is all about understanding that everything is interconnected. So, for example, what we build determines how much we use our cars. If those cars are internal combustion engine cars, they're creating pollutants which are damaging our health. They're contributing to climate change, supporting the oil industry, which is also creating single-use plastics, which are ending up in the oceans, filling our fish up with plastics. If we choose to eat those fish, we're filling ourselves up with microplastics, and we're just starting to get the evidence of what that's doing to our health. But it's also killing penguins on the other side of the world. So, we've been working in sustainability for over 30 years now. I started in the 1990s with colleagues setting up enterprises in sustainable forestry, organic farming, recycling. We ended up growing as an organization, needing new offices. So in 2002, we completed building our first eco-village with our offices in the centre of that. That's Bedstead in South London. So that's 100 homes and about 2,000 square metres of commercial and community space. It helped us create the OnePlanet living framework of 10 very simple principles, which then we applied around the world with retailers, manufacturing companies, real estate developers, fantastic set of projects. I could talk for hours on these, working with fantastic partners around the world. And we also held the first workshop at the United Nations with the Colombian government to propose the SDGs using OnePlanet Living as the inspiration. So the 10 OnePlanet Living principles, which you can see there over the course of 4 years, became 17 UN Sustainable Development Goals. So it's been a really, really exciting journey. But we also wanted to help scale the way of thinking, which helped us unlock these projects, that interconnected thinking. And in fact, today we're generally tearing our hair out trying to solve issues in silos, in isolation, whether it's the climate emergency, crime, fuel poverty, refugees, cost of living. But if we try and solve those in silos, we often do it in a way which creates other problems for us. So instead of that, can we get out of all that confusion, start thinking about the outcomes we all share, how they fit together, and how we can take more joined up action and have more joined up plans. And that's why we started creating our new tool, the OnePlanet platform, to help people see the links within their plans and strategies and projects, in terms of the outcomes they want to achieve, the actions they're going to take to achieve them, the indicators which they might track, and then having got their strategies, policies, plans, projects into this common format of outcomes, actions, and indicators, we can connect any number of them together so that people can collaborate in ecosystems on shared outcomes. So that's the tool we have built. And I'm going to hand over to Pauline actually to say a bit about why she started wanting to use the OnePlanet platform.
Okay.
So I'm going to stop sharing if I can find where to stop sharing.
Okay.
Yeah.
Good. Thank you. Oh, I can't. Hang on a minute. I just need to. Thank you. Okay. Yeah. Thank you. I just wanted to say how it all began. Really. Can you hear me? Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay. Thank you. One of the things, excuse me working from notes, but I've got long COVID and my brain doesn't work terribly well at times. One of the things that Transition Town Worthing's always been good at is networking, connecting people, groups and organisations and enabling them to be more sustainable and resilient, which in turn supports the environment and our whole community. Our Eco Open Houses events have always brought together many strands and elements of what's going on locally, but the problem was that the event was at best biannual, and then COVID put paid to that. So we were forced to go online. However, that actually led to the creation of a new website for TTW and also finding online ways of sharing what we do. I've long held the idea of creating a map of all the beneficial web of connections in our town, and I had all the threads of that in my head. Then the National Lottery Community Fund provided the financial means to create an online map to help connect up the dots and inspire people to take action, and that's what obviously all of this is about. Our admin assistant Sarah Slight and I started out in early 2022 with 7 themes. So obviously Pauline's got 10, United Nations have got 17, is it? We had 7. And they had all evolved out of our Eco Open Houses events. So we made a start on trying to capture all this mountain of information we had, but we didn't have the means to share that on the line. And then, as if by magic, SECA organised an event like this in June of last year with Nicola was, I think you chairing it, Nicola, you were very much involved in it, with Pauline, talking about OnePlanet's 10 principles and their amazing mind map. And it was just this pivotal moment for me where I saw that mind map come up on the screen. And excuse me, I just went, oh my God, that is exactly what I've got in my head. How have they managed to do that when this is what is inside my head? So this was very closely followed by a big community event at Coast Cafe designed to capture and share information. And the next thing we knew, we were on our way to see what you will see here this evening. Got in touch with Pauline, had lots of meetings and started to design our map. Sarah Slight and Morgan and I prepared all the spreadsheets for the map, and we've worked very closely with Pauline and OnePlanet, the whole team, for the last 5 months to make this happen. I must say they have all been incredibly supportive, patient and generous with their time in designing it around our own particular needs. And then they took it one step further, creating the possibility of others designing their own maps and becoming part of our new interconnected ecosystem. It's all incredibly exciting, and I hope you'll take advantage of this wonderful opportunity. I'm sure Niamh and Pauline will explain what those opportunities are, because I really, really do think that by working together, all of us can make a difference. I believe it's the only way this world is going to change fast enough. And we hope that the work that we're all doing will go some way towards mitigating the huge challenges we face. So Niamh and Pauline are much more adept at manoeuvring around the map and showing you how it all works, which I'm sure they'll do very shortly. Thank you.
Great, thanks, thanks, Pauline. So I'll just navigate a bit. I'll share screens again, and we'll show you what we've done with Pauline. But we're also using this with local governments and companies as well, and connecting them together. So that's what we want to do, is connect everyone together in this network so that we can collaborate around shared outcomes. But I'll share my screen again. So if you can see that, this is actually the, can everyone see that? Yeah.
Yes, that's fine. Yeah, Karen.
That's good. So this is the oneplanet.com website. So you can go there if you want. You can, and if you look under Knowledge Hub, we've got published plans, and you can go to published plans, and then you can search for, say, transition town Worthing. I've just pulled it up so I can save a bit of time. But if you search for transition town Worthing, you will see this page come up, which is their resource map. And let me just close this down. If you scroll down here, you can see you've got two options, which is to look at the interactive plan or download a PDF version. I'm going to click on the interactive plan and open up the plan. Sometimes when I'm sharing, it might be a bit slower than if we're not sharing on screen, but let me just click on this and it'll start opening up Pauline and her colleagues' resource map. So let's just give it a second. So it's just loading the map here. And then it opens up. So this is Pauline's brain downloaded onto the screen here, where we've actually taken the resource map, and around it, under the 10 One Planet Living principles, say here, zero carbon energy, or equity and local economy, or zero waste, people can find the different activities that they can engage in. So if you're looking, for example, at supporting local businesses, there are local businesses here which you can support. Here, if you're interested in nature, where can you go? It's everything from Forest of Rosedean there to Friends of Lions Farm. Wherever you want to go, if you click on any one of those, you can get more details about that and follow on to their website. So it covers all areas of sustainability. If we go into waste, though, I just want to show you one here. The main action there is reduce, reuse, recycle. And if we look at, say, one of those, we've got Compost Club here, and Mike Kennard maybe is joining us at about 7 o'clock. So he will join us shortly.
Can I just quickly, there's a few people that haven't muted. If you haven't muted, could you please do so? Thank you.
Thanks, Nicola. So if we look here at how you can reduce, reuse, recycle, you can take an action of using Compost Club services, for example. So you can click on here, you can find out about Compost Club. It's a social enterprise, creating a community of composters in Brighton, Hove and Lewes, Lancing and the surrounding area. You can go to their website, but actually Compost Club have also started using the platform here. So you can click on this and yeah, it'll open up Compost Club's mind map on what they are doing. So we'll just give it a second to open up. Oh, come on. Oh, I think when sharing screens on Zoom, it can be a bit slower. Going to open up. Let me just go back and reopen it. Go back. Let me do it on here. I'll just reopen this map. And
have you got it open on one of your other tabs, Piran?
I don't think I opened that one actually. Oh. So let me open it again. I thought let's just open it again. There we are. Come on. Come on, Compost Club. No, there we go. Oh, I should have opened this one up before as well, but oh, come on. What are you doing?
Pauline, maybe go to filters. Go to the filters.
Yeah.
Is it showing all of the filters? Is it?
Yeah, let's just do that. Let's just do that. Oh, that is. As usual, on live, it's giving me a little bit of trouble. There we are. That's the Compost Club one. Apologies for this. We don't usually have this problem. I'll try once more, and then otherwise we'll open it and show it to you. Show it to you later. Let me find Compost Club again. There we are, Compost Club. Come on, Compost Club. Otherwise, we'll show you later. Come on.
The wonders of technology.
I know. You know, it's been working very well until recently. But
whilst we're waiting, I can also just remind people that during the presentation, if you want to ask questions, we'll have questions at the end. If you can put a Q in front of your question, a big capital Q, that makes it a lot easier to see anybody that wants to ask anything.
Okay, great. Well, I'm going to show here, actually, you can also download a PDF of the Transition Town Worthing plan. So although you can also see it, you can see it as a mind map, you can also see it as a, you know, as a list of different organisations and activities that you can undertake. So I'm going to hand over to Niamh now to show what we're doing with Enfield Council and mention a bit about Horsham Council as well. So I will stop sharing and hand over to Niamh.
Also, Pauline, you'll be glad to hear that I managed to get the Compost Club open on my screen. So I can show everyone Compost Club first. Yeah, no, naturally what would happen is, yeah, you would have clicked on that link and Compost Club's plan would have opened. I believe my screen is sharing, correct? Yep.
Yes, you're
Great.
showing it.
And yeah, so as we can see, so Michael Kennard's Compost Club, you know, is connected on the Transition Town Worthing's map through zero waste. But when we open up his plan, we can actually see all of the sustainability actions that his company is doing. So, for example, we've got actions working towards zero carbon energy, supporting the community, and contributing to local and sustainable food through his Compost Club. And if we open up one of these actions here, so for example, incorporating an electric vehicle or pedal powered travel and transport into the company, as they're committed to traveling and transporting emissions free. We can see here by clicking on the stories that actually some of the progress that has been made, they've just welcomed their new EV and they're now collecting food waste, emissions free and powered by renewables. And so we can do that for a load of different actions on this sustainability plan, so that we can really start seeing how businesses are contributing to a wider sustainability vision. So yeah, that was just the sort of add-on to the Transition Town Worthing map. But yeah, so I will just kind of give you a very, very brief overview of how the platform has been used by a local council. So we've been working with Enfield now closely for about a year, and the main kind of mission was to support them with the progress update, the annual progress report on their climate action plan. So currently at the moment in the UK, it's not a statutory requirement for local councils to report on climate action, but Enfield have decided to do that and are committed to creating an annual report on that, and they decided to use the platform to create that report. And so the approach that we took was we mapped sort of 10 to 15 of their key council strategies, ranging from transport to the blue and green strategy, their local plan, the council plan, and of course, the climate action plan. And through that, we identified what were the sort of key sort of outcomes that they were trying to achieve across all of these plans, and also the key indicators or metrics that they were using to track their progress. And those were what we used then to kind of connect up all of these different plans. And so and again, this can all be explored on our website. You can search for Enfield's Climate Action Plan, which has now been published and publicly available. And you can view it as an interactive mind map, like we can see here. So for example, you know, if we want to see what is going on, we can see all of their different categories that they're using to arrange their plan. So we can hide some of these if we just want to focus on specific areas. So say we want to look at waste, we can just get that up and focus on what they're doing around waste. And so we can see here that they have an outcome of decreasing their waste and increasing recycling. And we can see how this indicator here is being used to measure that progress. And if we open it up, we can see all of their data entry points of how they've been working towards this indicator. And I believe, oh no, there is not one here, it's in the other one. And they've also shared charts on that progress as well. I'll just show the one that. But so all of this, so here we've got a chart here to see, but we can also, again, see this as all pulled into a kind of more traditional PDF document. If we click here, so all of those progress reports that were recorded onto progress updates, sorry, that were recorded onto the OnePlanet platform can then get automatically generated into a PDF document. So as I say, a more traditional way of viewing the information, and we can see how Enfield have reported on all of those actions that they've committed to in their climate action plan. So yeah, it's just a brief overview. There's a lot there, but yeah, you can explore that yourself. It's all been published online. So yeah, that's just one way that we've been working with a local government.
Yeah, Niamh, will you just briefly mention Horsham and South Downs National Park? Yes,
so so we've also, to kind of make it more relevant to the southeast, we're also working with Horsham District Council. We've worked with them with another consultancy, again using the platform to align the different strategies and spot the gaps, and to help create their carbon neutral strategy, I believe is what they're working towards. And in due course, when it is ready, we'll be working to use the platform to monitor, again, the progress of that strategy. And then we are also working with South Downs National Park, to help them monitor and align not only their internal operations, but also to help connect to local projects and use the platform in that way. Anything else you'd like to add, Pauline? If I missed anything?
No, thanks, Neve. That's great. Yeah. So I don't know whether Mike has, if Mike has joined us. Whenever Mike joins, if pipe up. But actually, I think we're going to hand back to you, Nicola, for questions.
Yeah, we've got some questions coming in, so maybe I can just read through some of these questions, Pauline. So, of course, the first one is, how much does it cost for SECA members to subscribe to the OnePlanet platform?
Okay, so actually, Pete, you can start a plan free, and you can keep that plan indefinitely. Then we go on to more complex ecosystems. So they go from £10,000 a year up to £40,000 a year for a council, say. But we never want cost to be a barrier. So you can always start free, and we're very happy to talk to anyone about their needs.
Yeah. And what is the minimum requirement for a computer to display and navigate the map?
I haven't been asked. I think
you need your tech team.
Online. It's yeah. I mean, it's a web application. So if you can go online, it might take you longer if you've got an older computer. But I think there's no reason why a reasonably up-to-date laptop or desktop, you won't be able to use it. So we haven't had that question yet. So thanks for that question.
Do you have or plan to have any integration with discussion and decision-making platforms like Lumio?
Okay, we are doing, I don't know Lumio itself, but we have now, we're now integrating with the Microsoft suite of applications, including things like Microsoft Teams, their collaboration side, Microsoft Power BI, which is their business intelligence side. And we're also looking at systems which councils use, like Asana and Pentana, so that in fact, they can carry on working using their normal tools, but we'll just be able to push and pull information from our system so that they can see that in a more joined up way, which we're going to test will help them work more collaboratively and find joined up solutions. So we've proven it's helping councils think differently. So with Enfield, they changed their climate strategy based on being able to see the interconnectedness of things, and it really made them understand that food is so important, and they didn't have that in their climate strategy. But food, not just because it contributes a lot to carbon emissions or greenhouse gas emissions, but also because the potential co-benefits around a climate-friendly diet to health are enormous. And potential savings to public health are enormous if we can get people eating healthy, higher plant-based, more local food. It's the co-benefits and that joined up thinking which is so important. So we've proven it's helping local governments and other businesses and other organizations start to think differently about their strategies and be more comprehensive. And now the next stage we're looking at is just to prove that actually it can also then help them collaborate to create more joined up solutions, which also we think will end up saving councils lots and lots of money. Because if you're joined up, meeting multiple outcomes, achieving all those co-benefits, actually, over time, you can do less and less and less to achieve more and more and more. So that's about being smarter in the way we work.
So the next one here we've got, are there any connections with the Oxford-based Donor Economics Action Lab?
No direct connections. I should let Neve take some as well, but I'll take this one. No, but in fact, we are creating what we call a donut economics lens on our system. So you'll be able to see your plan through, you can see it through any, what we call lens at the moment. You can see your same plan through the lens of the OnePlanet Living Principles, the UN Sustainable Development Goals, but we'll also add a donut economics lens. So you'll be able to see how your plan is contributing to planetary boundaries, to staying within planetary boundaries and above social foundations.
And Tony Whitbread has commented, the free plan is good fun just to get started and get a feel for things. So thanks, Tony.
Thanks,
and
Tony.
From Thomas here, this is a bit of a curveball, but OnePlanet looks like it could be a wonderful living data set for climate action, capabilities, activities, but it looks to be relatively difficult to query and access information. Is this a good case for a chat-based AI tool to be trained on the data set that could simplify queries and increase accessibility?
Great question. I think, you know, at the moment it's natural or human intelligence powered, but yeah, we have been looking at how we can leverage machine learning and artificial intelligence to help people over time. It's a very interesting philosophical question whether AI will ever be able to really connect with reality as we know it. And it might be that to connect with a living system, you've got to be a living creature. So that's a very interesting philosophical debate at the moment. So we may always need human beings in order to live on a living planet. So machines may not be able to do it.
And one here from Chloe Clark. Can you have multiple organizations inputting into one map, e.g. an area-wide map to give an overview of a 2045 net zero nature positive targets? And how does this work in terms of fees?
Okay, so you can have as many people as you like working on any one plan or multiple plans or groups of plans as you want. So the way that works is if you want to, so everyone can have their own plan and you can get one free, or if you want a bigger one, you can pay for it. And of course, we give discounts for not-for-profits and things like that. So individual plans are sized on, you know, can be sized, but then you can link plans together and then someone is the owner of that ecosystem, and there are different prices for those ecosystems, and we're just looking at the best way of pricing that. But as I said, for councils, it goes from at the moment £10,000 to £40,000 a year, and then it's you can have unlimited numbers of connections to that, and unlimited numbers of viewers of the system.
Thank you. And a comment here from Neil Pitcairn says that Lumio is free to use at community group level and is quick and popular amongst campaign groups. For instance, MS Teams is slow and heavy like all Microsoft programs. We won't go into Microsoft. And from Jeff, wondering how you handle multiple users inputting content to a shared system. I can see potential challenges with version control and sign-off issues.
Yeah, so that you can have different permissions set people either as viewers where they can't do anything but view what you're doing. You can have editors who can edit stuff, certain amounts of certain fields, and then you've got admin who can do much more. So you've got 3 levels of permissions in there. But yes, it's a living system, and so you have to manage who has access to what, and if you make them an editor, you are happy that they are able to edit the data.
Also, I just want to add on top of that, we have also just recently integrated some new functionality that allows you to see who was the last person that updated any kind of action or indicator in the system. So yeah, so if it is also a case of, also you can assign specific actions or indicators to specific members, to assign accountability that way. But yeah, as I say, we are also able to see who has last updated any of the information.
Quick follow-up. So how many people do you tend to have sort of edit rights in one of your kind of more ambitious applications? Is it loads and loads, or a kind of core team?
So with, take Enfield for example, it was just the we had the sustainability team, so there's about 2 of them working on updating the sort of the information into the platform. We did also then kind of branch out a bit more to 2 of the other departments that they needed information from. So the way of doing that was assigning, as I've said, specific actions or indicators that they needed information from to those people. They can then log in and input the data that they needed to. So with the case of Enfield, it was really about 4 people max working on it, because as it was a pilot project. But you know, in the way we see it is, it's as you would kind of see it expand as to who from each department, you know, you'd have a different person kind of inputting the different areas that need to be updated.
Yeah, the most we've had on one ecosystem is 40 people using one ecosystem, which was a regeneration project, actually in Enfield itself, called Meridian Water. So theoretically, you can have very many people. I think what we, so over the course of the next year, we really want to start embedding it in organizations so that as many people as need to can use it. So we've started to join things up, show how you can use it for strategic planning, and that's happened over the last year. And over the next year, we want to see how that can be integrated into the ways organizations work, and involve as many people as possible. So that's really our target for 2023, is to show, okay, can we get this joined up thinking now into joined up acting with more and more people in the organizations contributing their skills and experience and their knowledge in their area, different areas, to create more joined up solutions.
Right. We've got a nice visual question from Sally here. Can you add a quantitative element to the display so that the size of the blobs relates to the significance of the emissions?
It's a good idea. I think we'll put that in our development pipeline to roadmap to see how we can start creating those visualizations. But actually, we might be able to link across to use. Well, we can integrate with other systems. So they're good visualization systems like Tableau. Yeah, we can look at ways of doing that. I think that's a very good idea.
They're coming fast and furiously, these questions. We can't keep up. Here we go. Could mind mapping like this be used in tandem with physical mapping for biodiversity and ecosystem services measurements metrics?
Fantastic question. And yes, it can. We've already looked at how we can link to other systems like Land App, which you may have come across, which a lot of farmers are using in the southeast. So we want to do that. And yeah, absolutely. Any of those, say on Pauline's resource map, we can link to a geographic map. So you can see a conceptual map and a geographic map. So yeah, no, fantastic. And these are all great ideas, and we want to find more partners to work with to enable us to look at that. So, you know, rewilding projects, for example, or regenerative farming projects, and linking those things together. So fantastic ideas, and absolutely love it. And I can see Mike.
Keep them coming. Okay.
Yeah.
Should we just try and get through a few more here quickly?
Yeah, and then we can get Mike on.
And get Mike on.
Yeah.
What data import and export options are there? E.g., can data be imported from a CSV?
Yes, it can, and we're doing more of those. So now we've got, we've just done it with Microsoft Power BI, which is like an online Excel system. We can link across to Google Sheets, but we're looking at more and more close integrations with those systems, and we just need to talk to our, we're talking to our customers about what integrations they want and putting it into our pipeline of integration.
Have you seen the article in The Guardian about Thomas Shallett's online tool, Climate OS?
No, but I'll make
it. No, Pauline, you have. Ben,
have we?
Yeah, Ben sent it this morning.
Ah.
That was the article.
I haven't read it yet, so
that was the article that Ben sent this morning. I won't lie, I also didn't read the article, but I do know of the tool.
Well, it just says that it's being used by Nottingham and Bristol councils to map the effects of what they are doing.
Yeah.
So there you go, hot off the press.
Brilliant.
And we've got a comment here from Chris Hind. This looks like it would support the necessary change of culture where local authorities, businesses, and all other organisations work together with local community groups to deliver climate and other environmental goals. Absolutely. So, Michael, would you like to come in from the Compost Club and show how it's been helping you working with the OnePlanet tool?
Yeah, sure. Sorry, I'm just on the move. I've just been in a kind of net zero, what is it, the Brighton Chamber event. I'm just on the move back to my van. But yeah, essentially, I guess what I found really useful personally in using the software was kind of thinking about those sort of 10 principles and actually being able to see where I was having an effect on all of those things. And then being able to sort of put certain metrics like monitoring how many miles we're doing in the electric van versus if it was like a diesel truck, for example. And just being able to sort of see all those links to things that it puts it more in the forefront of your mind rather than it being a kind of sort of something a bit more conceptual. So it kind of, you create all these links and then you say, oh, actually we're doing this, let's link to that, and all those kind of implications from that, really. So you can kind of zone in on certain areas and things, and then link to other, for example, other businesses. So all the plastic buckets that we reclaim those from the construction trays. So then potentially they could set up a map and then demonstrate some of their circularity by they're not throwing those away anymore, we're repurposing them, which is very cool. And then obviously linking into the Worthing thing, because we're hopefully opening up a site out there. So all these kind of links, I mean, I'm a big sort of believer in the fact that nothing exists in isolation. And it's when we look at things in that way, it can lead us, down wrong paths. So for me, what's really exciting about this platform is that if we can kind of all produce our own maps, all linked together, because we all do, whether we see it or not. And what this does is it produces something quite visceral and shows you that we do. And then we can make kind of better decisions because that can be, at the forefront of our mind. Sorry, I've just sort of done a little jog to get back to the van, so I'm a bit out of breath.
No, it's nice, the bit of action.
Yeah.
Oh, well, someone's just come in. Mike, do you want some 205-litre steel drums?
Do I?
You can answer that person in a direct message afterwards.
Yeah.
And there's another person just put one other benefit that I don't think has been mentioned is that I understand it can support the development of action plans from a library of common components and best practices.
That is a very good point. So what we're in the process of doing now is creating best practice templates with experts in different fields and actually creating them as templates you can adopt, but and then you can fill in and adjust for your own particular situation. But it's like, I don't know how else to describe it, but except like a spongy Lego block, that it's connectable, but you can also mold it to fit the particular niche it needs to fit. So it's not just an isolated template, it's a connectable best practice template, And so people can start taking these templates, taking best practice guides, and start fitting all of these together in a way which is much more alive, and it's all a living system. So it's all real time. So if someone changes something in one part of the ecosystem and they want that, they're happy for that to be made public, you can always keep it private. The whole ecosystem can know about it. So you don't have to do annual reports, try and collect information from people. It can be much more dynamic so that people can have the information they need at the time that they need it. And hopefully also create communities of practice. There might be opportunities for that. People working in similar sectors can start learning together, and best practice guides. So case studies are coming in as well. We're just introducing that next week as well. So yeah, I mean, we want to have a lot of fun with this with other people who want to go on this journey.
Great. I've got another one from Jeff here. Would be interesting to hear more about how the tool is helping organizational change cultures. Silo thinking and hierarchies are usually quite well embedded. Yes, and that is, I think, what we need to prove in the next year. So can we actually, we know, as I said, we know it's changing the way organizations think strategically in terms of planning. Now, can we actually get that into real on-the-ground changes? And my own background is actually in neuroscience. And the very latest in that is the left hemisphere and the right hemisphere. Left hemisphere is very focused on the detail, ends up very siloed. And in fact, that's the dominant part of the brain that we've developed in our modern Western culture. But in fact, the other part of our brain, which can see interconnectedness, see the bigger picture, has the imagination, actually is more intelligent. This is from neuroscience. We have underdeveloped that part of our brain. And now can we, because of the tools we've got, because we work in Excel spreadsheets, because we work in PDFs and Word documents, they're linear, they're rows and columns and then linear. It doesn't allow you to start downloading a brain like Pauline's. Which just shows. Yeah, and so I think, can we actually, by giving people these sorts of tools, actually start exercising part of the brain which they don't have a chance to exercise, at least in their work? They might be exercising that part of their brain through music, through dance, through arts, through all sorts of creative processes, but you can't do it at work where you're constrained into rows and columns, and frankly, reality, you can't shoehorn into a spreadsheet. Yeah, and we ultimately need a paradigm shift. And so coming out of this straight, square way of thinking into something that is more natural. It's how nature works. And that's always my interest of, like, how would nature do it? Through a mycelial network of connections and nodes, sharing resources, sharing nutrients. That's how nature works. So let's see if we can get through another couple of questions before we come to the end. Is there any central government interest in these tools? Could blockchain be used to record carbon or community benefit within local and national economies? Again, fantastic question. We haven't yet had any real contact with central government. Interestingly, yeah, we'd love to. It's, from our perspective, local government is where all these problems around climate, health, homelessness, that inequality, local government is on the front line of that, and communities are on the front line of that. And actually, that's where you need to be joined up, and actually you can be a bit divorced from things in central government, but we think absolutely we would love central government to start supporting this joined up thinking, and actually even start thinking in a more joined up way between all the different central government departments. So we'd love it. And if anyone knows anyone in central government who it's worth us speaking to, or wants to work with us to approach central government, we'd be absolutely delighted to do that. But I think what's going to happen with this sort of approaches is going to be very much a
bottom-up approach with communities and those local governments who want to really support this sort of change, starting to use it and then starting to influence central government. So we have also mapped things like the central government's net zero strategy. So in fact, that's connectable now. So local government can also local governments could also easily show how they are contributing to national targets as well.
Oh, actually, sorry, Pauline, I did actually forget to update you on this. No, we do have a meeting. I arranged it. It's in 2 weeks. I forgot to, I've sent the invitation to Ben, but forgot to send it to you.
To who?
For Bays, with Bays.
Bays. Okay, there we are. Then yeah, you see, there's
so fingers crossed.
People like me starting to take this up to central government. So, and it is going to be a lot about the next generation. You know, I'm getting to the end of my useful life.
No, you're not.
So I'm having, if I may, I'm calling for more climate inaction. Okay, which is I'm going to spend more of my time sitting around rather than rushing around, and that's going to be the best way I save my carbon is by doing less. But actually, I think also there is this thing that we are working harder and harder and harder in all sorts of different ways and falling behind. And if we just took time to think, okay, what is it we really want to achieve? How are these shared outcomes? How do they fit together? And if we concentrate, if we focus on those, our lives become many times simpler.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, you know, if we can find solutions which save carbon, improve our health, we can save huge amounts of money for the NHS. Now, some public health people think we can avoid 80% of NHS spending if we promoted health and created healthy communities and healthy environments and people living healthy lifestyles. That's 80% of NHS spending. So all the time, we're just chasing our tails and we've gone a bit mad as a society around this. And so can we actually calm down, think about what we want to achieve, let's be joined up in how we do that, and actually our lives could become a lot easier.
And richer.
And richer.
Right, I've got another question here. Somebody has just said about wanting to save the chat. So just before I move on from that, if you look in the bottom bar where all the addresses are, there's 3 little dots next to the emoji where it says more. And if you hit on that more down there, you'll see save chat. So you will be able to do that. Here we've got another question. Can OnePlanet be used to track and even account for climate metrics, e.g. CO2 emissions, water usage, and how they're transferred across nodes connections? E.g. business A gives Compost Club 200 kilos of food waste. Compost Club gives business B 100 kilos of compost. Business B produces 200 kilos of food. But capturing and accounting for relevant climate-based metrics, if that makes sense.
It absolutely makes sense. Okay, so I think we've got the skeleton for that to enable that to happen, the structure for that to happen. And one of the things we want to explore in the course of the coming year is can we turn this also into the basis for a regenerative economy where we're tracking that. And we are exploring, for example, with a company called Better Points, which operates in the Southeast as well, Brighton Council use them, could we actually create a loyalty point system or a parallel currency so that whenever you're making a financial trade, it's also valuing the social and environmental benefit of that trade and giving you credit for it as, you know, like loyalty points, which then you can use against other green products and services, so that we can really start rewarding people. At the moment, generally, if you do things which are good, you're not credited for it, or you might pay more for it. And that's just the wrong way round. You know? So all the good people in the world are being undermined by people who are, you know, all the good intentions, actually, they're not just good people, but good intentions are being undermined by the fact that if you cut corners and you externalize the social and environmental costs, and you get someone else to pay for that, you become more successful in our economy, and that's appalling. So we have to start valuing these things, and then we'd all be better off.
Absolutely. Last question: is this usable for entities outside of the UK?
Yes, it is. It's online now. Yeah, so anyone, anywhere in the world can use it.
Great.
And we want to improve it. We're into this journey. Every couple of weeks, we're improving it. We're improving the performance of it, the speed of it, more functionality, making it easier to use. So yeah, I mean, it's a journey for us. It's been extremely challenging to get to this stage, and we really want to work with others who want to see this way of working to create the paradigm shift we need. We really want to work with other people to get this, creating the transformation that we desperately need now.
Thank you so much, Pauline and Niamh and Michael and Pauline for sharing. And hopefully everybody else can see the potential like I can. I can really see what OnePlanet can achieve when we really start working together. So, if you have contacts in councils, in businesses, really share this platform with them. If you're not signed up for the South East Climate Alliance, do. If you're a member of the South East Climate Alliance and you're twiddling your thumbs with not enough to do, because of course, wouldn't it be amazing if we could actually map all of the membership of what everybody within the South East Climate Alliance is doing as well, and start to create these mind maps of how we can all work together and to share this information. So this is being recorded, and so it will be able to be passed on to people that weren't able to make it today. And lots of thank yous coming in on the chat. Remember, you can save the chat yourself, and both the information for OnePlanet and the South East Climate Alliance websites have been shared. And thank you all very much for coming. So have a good evening.